Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 6 of the Kitfox Festival. We had a little break on the weekend with some restreams happening, but we are back. And I have with me Tanya, who's back again, Captain of Kitfox, and
Ellen?
David from the 6 Ages team. So today is day 6 for 6 Ages. Totally planned, intentional. So I hope y'all have some questions, but maybe we can just start it off with like some just basic. How's everyone doing today? Did you have a good weekend? What have you been up to?
Did the Easter egg hunt yesterday.
You with your grandchildren?
Grandkids came over and we almost didn't find an egg.
Oh no.
Nice. It's amazing how bad they are at it, right?
Well, we were looking, all the adults were looking too. We hid them and we couldn't find the last one. Because one of my granddaughters explicitly made green eggs so they'd camouflage in the grass, and so I
That
hid
does
it in
make
the
it
grass.
hard. Yeah. We only dyed 4 eggs, but then I mean my kid is only 2.5, so he's very bad at looking for things. They're like bright fluorescent colors and like still on a shelf.
I do
Unclear.
have an
But
Easter egg confession too, that there's an Easter egg in the iOS version of the game, and somehow we never got it into the desktop version. I think they got so the Easter egg does not exist yet in 6 Ages on Mac or Windows. Sorry.
Whoa. What is it?
You got to find it.
Oh. I mean, is it literally like a dyed looking egg that's somewhere like in an illustration or?
No, it's not that exciting, but
Well, how was your weekend, Alexandra? Did you do an Easter egg hunt as well?
No Easter egg hunt for me. My family
Maybe next year you can come and join ours.
Yes, actually I would love to, because that was always like that's like my favorite part, is just like wanting to be challenged. I guess it's like an escape room in that sense. It's like, I like looking for things and
Yeah, I have a friend who's a mom, and she's decided that of all the children's holiday deities, that the rabbit is the most like the trickster, right? Because it's like they hide things. So she's turned into a full blown like puzzle holiday every year, where like Easter is when she like makes elaborate like scavenger hunts and steps to follow and puzzles to solve. Even though the kid is like 7, so probably doesn't believe in the Easter Bunny anymore, but it's like in their best interest because then they get more puzzles from mom. Yeah, I think it's a good tradition. We might steal that. But
yeah.
yeah, so we're here to talk about 6 Ages, which I don't know if everybody in the chat knows what 6 Ages is. How would you describe what 6 Ages is, David?
well, we call it a storytelling strategy game because it's telling sort of an epic multi-generational story, and you're also making economic decisions on how many cows to be sacrificing to the gods or trading away to trading partners.
Yeah.
It's
And
multi-generation because it's at the clan level instead of the individual level. So you're not playing any one, you're not the clan leader, you're the clan. You can replace the chief as necessity happens, or
when
the
you're
old chief dies.
so Alexander, I don't know if you can show a trailer or screens or something
Hmm.
like that so people can get some context
Yeah,
for what
yeah.
we're talking about. But it's interesting because most people, when they see the screenshots, they would assume it's just like a text adventure essentially, where you're choosing choices. When in actuality, there's a lot of deep systems that are tracking, like even what options are available and what effect they have might depend on who is leading your clan at that moment, that kind of thing.
Right.
I I can't recall. It's been a long time since I've played, but when you make a choice in one of these important story moments, are you choosing as if you are the chief? Like, are you possessing the chief in that moment, or like, who is making that choice?
You're really the clan circle is
Okay.
advising the chief and advising the player is sort of their point too, right? You should be clicking on their advice and seeing what they have to say, which is usually in the best interest of the clan. It might be in the best interest of themselves, or they're just, they don't have, they're not omniscient. They do have information you as a player probably don't, because they live there, right? They know how many cows is the right number, or what the people are feeling. Are they optimistic or not? But they're human, they're fallible. So they may have a bad idea of what to do, and then someone has to do it. You made that decision, and someone has to go, all right, we got to go hunt the wolf. And if you're not a good wolf hunter, you'll fail. Or you could succeed. And a lot of the if you've been playing the strategic game and you set up like hunting magic, you'll be more likely to succeed. So all of the various decisions have some feedback to each other.
I think my main problem is that I always default in every game, honestly, this is my problem, from Civilization to Wildermyth or Six Ages. I always try to be probably too diplomatic. I always try to diplomatize everything. and honestly, that's not, you're supposed to be more reactive, is my impression, is not every circumstance can be settled by being nice.
Probably not, but I think too many people think that you play a game like Civilization by painting the map and conquering all of your neighbors, and that is absolutely not what Six Ages is about. You're just a small clan in a much, much, much larger world. Your gods are weaker than your neighbors' gods, so you're not likely to ever be able to conquer anybody.
Well, really, I thought that I was just really, really bad at it, but I guess what you're saying is that you should be a little bit more defensive, I guess, than offensive.
Well, you can certainly build up a force, and you can raid and extract tribute from your neighbors, or get plunder. I mean, it is a violent warrior society, but that's not how you win the game. You can't win the game that way. There's too many others out there, and they'll eventually start ganging up on you. And
do you think part of that is just the laws of the gods? So we'll talk about the setting explicitly in just a second, but like, I wonder if a clan were to invent deeper infrastructure the way that the Mongolian society did, or the way the Chinese society did, or eventually Greeks and things like that. Like, could there be more of a conquering in Glorantha, or is it like against the laws of physics that anyone could ever be like that enormous an empire, even briefly?
Well, your people were part of an empire which did conquer. In fact, your people technically were conquered by the emperor at one distant point. But then the damn storm people came and ruined that empire. And the flip side in Glorantha is that in King of Dragon Pass, which Six Ages is sort of the spiritual sequel to, or predecessor to in Glorantha historical terms, in King of Dragon Pass, you actually do invent a new way of ruling yourself, and you forge a kingdom.
Right.
So
maybe that's where I'm remembering. I remember it being sort of a goal, right? Like you were gonna reunite things.
Yeah, you have to forge a bunch of clans into a tribe, and then eventually unify different people in Dragon Pass as a new thing, an actual kingdom.
Whereas Six Ages is not really about that. It's about six. In theory, it will be six games that each describe an era in humanity.
Yeah, we're in the Storm Age, and the Great Darkness comes next. And then we could have a Dawn Age game, and there's some Dragon Age games, and
well, I don't think we're allowed to call them a Dragon Age. Unfortunately. For some reason.
Dragon Aged.
Dragon Era.
Yeah.
Well, I was speaking loosely. I mean, you could say Empire of the Worms friends, but you might be against them, so fighting for your independence.
Age. Yeah. And that would be perfectly legit according to my lawyer.
But again, it's kind of hard because dragons are pretty potent.
That's what I hear. Most cultures seem to agree that the dragons were to be messed with by the average person. Um, but the setting of Six Ages, for those who don't know, is Glorantha, which has a long and storied history of its own. So you were colleagues with one of the main creators, right? Greg Stafford?
Yeah, well, Greg Stafford is the author and creator of Glorantha. I can't remember how long ago he first started writing about it. I bought his game White Bear and Red Moon, I think in 1976, maybe.
Amazing.
I never played it then, but it was in like a Ziploc bag. This is the really early days of board game publishing.
The true shareware age.
It was before shareware. It was almost zine age.
Yeah.
Board game publishing. We've certainly come full circle with Kickstarters and giant budgets, but
Yeah.
I can't remember if that was the second edition that wasn't mimeographed. But anyway, Glorantha is Greg's creation, and he eventually commissioned a role-playing game called RuneQuest because role-playing games were catching on, and that's how I really got into Glorantha more was through RuneQuest. But so I started trying to write stuff for RuneQuest and corresponding with Greg, and somehow we went to game conventions on the West Coast, and at some point we were talking about what would make a great computer game, and we kind of, Glorantha is a great setting. There's all this history, and he was working on a book that talked about the history of Dragon Pass, and that's kind of what turned into King of Dragon Pass.
How would you describe the world of Glorantha to somebody who had only played sort of mainstream games? Like, what is different to you about Glorantha compared to the World of Warcraft or something?
Well, I'm not as familiar with that other than spiky bits, but Glorantha is really a world built around mythology. Everything in it has a mythological explanation that the Great Ice Age came when the storm god killed the sun god, so the lights went out and things got cold, and that's why there's an ice. I mean, there are some more materialistic sorcery people who think that's not really the reason, but there might be physical explanations for it. But we all know that it's really the gods fighting. Although different cultures have different gods, so maybe their sun god died a slightly different way. And that's also one of the things about Glorantha is that there's really no real one truth. A lot of it depends on the lens you look at, which is partly why King of Dragon Pass and Six Ages have different viewpoints.
That would make it especially hard for something like a video game, like showing subjectivity in an artistic format that makes it difficult to display different perspectives simultaneously. Like in books, I feel like over the past couple thousand years, we've gotten sort of used to unreliable narrator. I guess it's only been a couple hundred novels are fairly new comparatively to other writing forms, but we're sort of used to unreliable narrators, just narrators that disagree about what happened. And even in film, I think we're starting to see that more, that audiences are sort of expecting. They're able to parse more in the mainstream, like, oh, these two characters believe something different about what happened. But in video games, I don't know if it's because it's a newer art form or because there's so much suspension of disbelief already to accept the rules of the universe in addition to the story and the characters and everything else. But I feel like a lot of people stumble a little bit trying to understand that something is true about the world, but only to these people, not these people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Have you had trouble with players discussing that, or is it mostly okay because they're Glorantha aficionados?
I think we actually have a lot more players than aficionados exist, just by the nature of video games versus tabletop role-playing games. They're no longer at their peak. There's kind of a renaissance.
Peak again. We'll see.
I think it's building back up. There's a lot of great RuneQuest products coming out, but I think just the way video games, it's it's cheaper for one thing. Books are way more expensive now than when I started. I mean, you can get
video games has gone down, and the price of books has stayed pretty much the same or gone up.
It's gone up. It's way gone up. But they're also better. They have all color interiors now and stuff, which is cool.
And the illustrations are top notch these days. I know my partner bought this history of the Janelle Jakeways like original D&D first edition illustrations and things like that, and like just following like her entering this realm where like, you know, the original D&D guys were like doing not quite their own illustrations, but it was basically programmed.
Yeah,
in the
she
60s,
did some
right?
she did some good Laventha stuff too.
Oh yeah, I didn't know Janelle did some Laventha stuff.
She worked on Griffin Mountain, which is an excellent supplement, and did the cover art for that.
Super cool. She actually was technically a teacher at my graduate school while I was there. She was teaching the artists. I only met her at like a couple of parties, but yeah, she departed a few years after, I think. I only discovered years later. I was like, oh my gosh, we had a celebrity as a teacher. I mean, a nerd celebrity, but still. Yeah. Anyway, so yes, we're here to talk about Six Ages, the video game, and the next installment, which David has very kindly mentioned a couple of times, implied, Lights Going Out, is what it's called.
Yep.
Yes.
Because that'll be happening.
Because it's the age of darkness, the dark age.
The great darkness when chaos is rampant.
Right. I mean, I don't know if anybody else here has purchased the. Have you seen the God's War board game?
I got one of those downstairs. It's gigantic.
I have one upstairs. It's so big. But it's fun because like I feel like it made it real to me in a way that I was like, oh yeah, I am the sun god and I am imprisoned for the first turns or whatever while the chaos are out and terrorizing everybody. It was fun.
Yeah. Sadly, Sandy Peterson has had very little input on my video games, but
I got to meet Sandy Peterson at my school as well. It must have been organized by a super nerd. But I should message him and see if he wants to contribute to one of the Six Ages. He might. He's a very busy man. But
he's busy doing board games with his kids right now.
Aw, that's cool. Living the dream.
They're running his company.
Oh wow. Your kids aren't interested in taking over Six Ages someday?
Probably not.
Or your grandkids, maybe?
That could happen.
Yeah, after the Easter egg hunt, you're like, so let's talk about taxes. I have a Laventha source book here as well. I have two actually. Highly recommend them to anybody who's interested in fictional mythologies.
A pretty big book.
It is enormous. Yes. Yeah.
This is the slightly thinner. If you don't want all the super deep knowledge, this is probably a better introductory book.
Yeah, it's basically all the different tribes and beliefs and everything like that. It's tough, I gotta say. As somebody who doesn't already know that much about Laventha, other than playing a bit of King of Dragon Pass and a bit of Six Ages, I'm never sure how to read these books. Like you can't read them cover to cover. But at the same time, I mean, I guess I should read it kind of like a Wikipedia, where I should read a random article, and then if I see something that's interesting, I look up that article and like rabbit hole a little bit back and forth through it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's more like an encyclopedia. If you need to know about the area that Six Ages takes place in, that's the book that would tell you. Although it's set thousands of years later. Trying to find.
Yeah.
I know there's one or two bits of Six Ages art in this book, but
oh yeah,
I can't find it now, of course.
How did you meet your artist for Six Ages?
That's a good question. Jan was my principal artist, and I somehow met him online. I think he became a Laventha fan at some point, and he may have posted sketches or something. Some of them were Philadelphia area artists. I went to a art school and said, "Got any good alumni?" And they sent me Michelle. They sent me Michelle.
Okay.
And she did all the Otherworld art.
Excellent.
One of the artists worked at art gallery that we walked by. My wife and I would walk by when we were had actual jobs to commute to. One of us did. There's this art gallery that was open like once a week.
People
but
used to go
one of them worked there.
jobs.
He'd walk to the subway.
Whoever heard of that?
The dog got exercise.
Yeah. No, I mean, Kitfox, we open the office for a couple days a week in the fall, and we're probably going to do it again over the summer. But we'll see how the cases are doing. I'm sure. But you're based in Philadelphia?
No, we moved to Tacoma. We were in Philadelphia for most of the creation of the Six Ages game. But various family things meant we moved to Tacoma, and we actually shipped out of Tacoma, if that makes any difference.
There's a good number of devs out in the Seattle area, which Tacoma is kind of close to Seattle, right?
Yeah, it's maybe, depends on the traffic, but less than an hour away.
Okay.
If we had good trains, it would be shorter, but
maybe
we're Americans. We don't have trains in America.
I mean, Canada isn't that much better.
Philadelphia had nice subways, but that was about it.
Yeah, Montreal has decent subways. And I did once take a train from Chicago to San Francisco. I don't know if you've seen it used to be the train jam for Game Developers Conference.
Did you do a train jam?
I did one, yes.
Right.
I don't think do another one anytime soon, but it was a lovely experience.
I can't do jam games, it seems. I do these giant games like King of Dragon Pass and Six Ages that take years to make.
It is a different skill. It's a very different skill. And it's funny to see. I think a lot of people think one will transfer to the other more, jam game making versus normal commercial game making. They are different, but I find them both differently enjoyable. I haven't done a jam in so long. We did a little one like for Kitfox specifically, but it was just during work hours for a week. I guess it was early 2021. And before that, I have no idea what my last game jam was before that. It's been so long. But yeah, maybe when the kid's older, we can jam together or something. He can be my artist. I've seen a lot of collabs online with kids that seem to be decently interesting.
Is it Gunman Taco or?
Yeah, something like that.
John and Brenda Romero's kid did a game with
is
them.
that there? I know there was one that it was not a famous couple's kid. It was just like a police dog hammer fighter ninja something. Yeah, as kids do. But do you play any games or are you reading any books right
now? I don't play games as much as I'd like. I finally ended up buying a Switch so I could play Heaven's Vault from Inkle.
Cool.
Because I'd read so much about it.
Sorry, really quick. Hold on. Alexandra, the image that you have for the channel says October 17th. That makes it sound like it's coming out later this year. Is it supposed to be the trailer or?
Yeah, this was just the trailer that was playing, and that was I have some of the images that I can put up.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, let's do the images.
Do you have the Elkoth folder?
Yes. Thank you for sending that. We have some. Oops.
So I wanted to show, this is the sort of the art process, which is more involved than it usually was. But I have two number threes. That doesn't make sense. Anyway, the Elkoth is a city in the old empire that's buried under the ice, supposedly. Well, it is buried under the ice, but they apparently have a way out, and they will come and harass you. And we had a bunch of art that was going to involve their main god, whose name is Shargash, and we know from other Gloranthan sources that there's also, it's run by demons. And so I think I had been talking to Greg Stafford a bit, or brainstorming some ideas, like how do we show the demon men and the people of this warlike city of Elkoth want to look like the demons at the same time. So between Greg Stafford, who I think had already retired by this point, but he was still consulting with us, we came up with the idea that the demons had really long heads so that you could do cranial deformation to look like a demon. And they have sharp teeth because they're demons, so you'd file your teeth to look like a demon. So
naturally.
So the first few pictures here were trying to come up with what the god looks like and what the demons might look like. That's 0-1. I don't know what you're showing right now. I can't see it.
Oh,
yeah.
With my setup.
1. Okay, yeah, so we're seeing, yeah. Ooh, these are some nice teeth. We do have something hidden behind David. I don't know if you want to hide me for a little while you're showing this art.
Sorry, Tanya. No offense, but we'll push you aside.
The art is much more important.
Yeah.
I can see it on my screen. I just can't see what the chat or the stream is showing. But yeah, we're coming up with probably some of it's based on Peruvian art from the Moche people, I think is in there a little bit, but so we had the long heads. I'm going to switch to my number 2, which was a Hellman, and the big heads and the teeth, or the tongues rather. This was being done. These concept arts were Simon Roy, who's an artist up in Canada. He was, I think, in Vancouver at the time. It's now in Victoria, I think. Vancouver Island, which is completely different from Vancouver. And different helmets. And they got bat wings on this one, which I don't think made it to the final. So, and then the final one was some demon heads. That's number 4. Just sort of these were artistic brainstorms, and then having decided on what we liked the best, we went to number 5 as an actual raid. Because yes, the demon people do come and raid you. Somehow they get out from under the ice. Is that showing? You got number 5
yes,
up
number
with
5, and it's got a reference picture on the bottom.
Yeah, Simon had found something of like leaders marching in front of an army, except instead of guys on horses, because no one else rides except our people. There's a few hellmen leading it, and you can't really tell in that picture, but they're blowing their death whistles. Because somehow we'd found out about Aztec death whistles, and that sounded like something that the hellmen would definitely use. So that's a thumbnail, and our art process we get for sort of just for blocking and seeing that it's going to work, and it might work with if we have to cover it with text, does that still work? So this is a thumbnail. It's really rough. You sketch thing.
It's a career goal for me, as I need to commission at least one piece of concept art someday that has little arrows pointing to hellmen and death whistles.
Right.
That's excellent.
Well, this is.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, we have
a couple of questions. Yeah, we have. Well, first there was a question a little bit ago. Somebody wanted to know what material inspired you the most for the new game, for Lights Going Out.
Inspired the most. I think it's just the overall body of Gloranthan lore. I mean, probably the best source is the Book of Hjortling Mythology, but actually it goes back to things from Greg's earliest publications, because the Great Darkness has been there all along, and but there's some stuff in the book. That's probably the book with the most mythology in it. It's sort of a weird esoteric work. It's available in print, but it's not like a official source book.
What's it called again?
The Book of Hjortling Mythology.
The Book of Hjortling Mythology. Okay, I'll look that up and post a link to see if it's there. But somebody else wanted to know if you need to get approval for these concept arts, these designs from Glorantha HQ.
We didn't exactly. Back in the days of King of Dragon Pass, I was working with Greg Stafford, and I would send him all the thumbnail art, or maybe it was pencils, but pretty loose art for his approval because he hadn't done a computer game before and wanted to make sure things were good. And we were several months in, and he said, "You know, you don't need to send me these anymore. They're all good. You can speed up the process and just do them."
Nice.
So,
I guess you gained trust.
And Glorantha is sort of under new management now, but basically they'll trust us to do the mythological era without having to worry about specific approval.
Nice.
And like I was mentioning, some of our art has shared back and forth. I couldn't find it right away, but I know there's one from the end game is definitely in what I think it's in the source book, but I couldn't find it. We certainly shared some artists. It's like as soon as you start working with Simon and Michelle.
Yeah. All right. I posted to Alexandra the link to the PDF in case anyone is interested. Which I don't know. I would log into Twitch, but then you have to authenticate me, Alexandra. So I figured you can.
Yeah, drop it in chat if anyone wants to check it out.
Yeah. I might have to get that for my my partner's birthday or something.
It's pretty deep mythology, but
I mean, that's the best part for me. Like, if I could honestly just somehow boil down my Glorantha source materials to just the myth, I think I'd be into it. Somebody asked, the mythological era, is that when all 6 of the 6 ages occur?
if we end up doing all 6 games, no, they would be, some of them would take place after the dawn in historic times.
Well, I guess that means there's like, you'd have to play as a clan that has writing or timekeeping of some manner.
Well, everyone gets it eventually.
Yeah.
You know, things do spread. Other people end up writing, and after, you know, your King of Dragon Pass people have writing by then, and they're really not
writing with pens or writing with horses.
Horses.
Okay. Oh. Yeah, I meant writing originally, but yes, that's true. The writers. I guess they don't have a lockdown on their technology after.
You may or may not have writing with pens, and it depends on your clan questionnaire.
I see. I guess I was assuming that when it's historic, like post mythology age, that maybe there'd be some sort of technological relationship to that. But no, I guess it's just that the god era is.
It's mythic.
Yeah.
It's mythic.
Even though it's historic, it's still mythic. Or post mythology is still mythic.
It's probably historic because you can keep time accurately. Because you have the sun, right? The sun's rising every day instead of like, we haven't had a sunrise in several lifetimes.
Yeah, that would be disconcerting.
So it's much harder to tell time. That's partly why we don't have a official chronology in the game.
Do the stars rotate? Because I feel like ancient peoples and our world did a pretty good job of tracking star movements back then. But are there even star movements?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There's the back of the second volume of the Guide to Glorantha has all the star constellations, and some of the stuff in there is actually another good reference for the game, like how things change over time. The different planets like bonking into each other and smashing each other out of the sky. It's one of the appendices has all the star constellations of Glorantha as they are in modern times.
Oh, here's the red moon. Excellent. Oh, there we go. We got stars. Yep. The dragon rise.
The old empire was run by star counting people. In fact, that's one of your the god Busarion is the star ledger guy.
Okay,
so he would know all about that.
Interested. Yeah. Somebody mentioned I think I remember you mentioned using the Tales of the Narts a lot in making Six Ages.
I don't know about a lot, but yes, that is. Do I have that here? Tales of the Narts is really cool.
The question is, when making Lights Going Out, were there anything similar for you figuring out the look and feel of the player culture outside of Stafford libraries?
The look and feel?
That's what they say.
Stafford libraries are poor for look and feel, so that's the look and feel, though. It was sort of we wanted the look of, well, the Storm Age is like an exciting time early in the Bronze Age, and everything is much brighter. You've got lots of vibrant colors. And there's a question about the second game, because things get worse and everything kind of falls apart, and we're sort of like distressing that. First game also has a bunch of things from the Empire that, like, some of the remnant people used to be, they were city people or farmers. And there's one people you meet who, like, the only god they kept was the god of the thresher. And he's got a grain flail, and that's the only god they kept.
Sounds kind of ominous.
And that's they don't have any grain anymore, so they're really losers. And they don't know how to make clothing that isn't out of, like, flax or something. So they have leaky boots.
It sounds like they're gonna have a tough time.
But you could adopt them. I think they're one of the people you can adopt and give a slightly better life to.
And you don't mean enslave, I hope.
No. No, you are not a slave taker in Six Ages.
I do remember feeling a bit uncomfortable about that replay King of Dragon Pass, even though it's completely reasonable historically, and mythologically. But anyway, let's go back to the art that you were going through. I think we only got like a third of the way through.
Yeah, we're at number 5 still.
Right, that's the thumbnails, and then our normal art process is to make a pencil, which may or may not. This one actually looks like it was pencil. I mean, everyone's digital now, so that may or may not strictly be a pencil, but it's a more detailed version of the thing. This is when, yeah, I'm on number 6. And pencils for me is like when I can say, wait a minute, that's not what a sword looks like, or, it's detailed enough that we can do that. So that's the pencil version. And the next one is inks at number 7, which at this point is pretty much ready for coloring. And then finally, 8 is the final.
I think on the stream.
Are you on 8 yet?
On the stream, I'm still seeing 5. Yeah. Okay. So this is the pencil? Okay.
6 is pencils. It's based on the thumbnail.
That's with the whistles. Yeah. No.
Then you got to the 8, which is colored. Is that what you're on?
Yeah.
Right, and then the other things in that folder are other illustrations of the warriors and the hellmen. Like when we fight them, there's battle outcomes. I've got 3 of those here. With our sadly vertical art. It's kind of a weird format, but let's try to fit everything.
Oh, somebody wants to know, is there more attention on some of the foreign or local minor human cultures in the new game? For example, the Agimori or the Votanki?
The Votanki do show up in the first game. And actually, Agimori show up in the first game too. They're pretty far. Both of them are kind of far away from where we live. So,
Tanner, can you zoom in on that vertical thing? It's really hard to see what's going on. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, yeah, you have the delay a little bit, but I'll get that.
Sorry. Ooh, here's some.
that the dead one, Outcome 38?
Might get banned on Twitch for that.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Move ahead.
36, I think. Well, it's not so extreme.
You're on R6 now?
Oh, no, I was actually, I have 37. I can go to R6.
Oh, that's not that gruesome.
No, that's good. That's got like a cute little like eared helmet or hat.
Right, that was from the concept art. This is the actual god in 6, which is partly why we wanted to do concept instead of just sketch by sketch or illustration by illustration. So sometimes the artists get to draw each other's creations. So Michelle got to do Simon's Hell God, and that's what R6 is. I mean, obviously it's in her style, but it's the same.
Artists really like that collaboration.
There's one, yeah. There's a god in the next game that's being. Several people have gotten to draw him, and they're all happy to do that.
Chat saying it's just ketchup. That's right.
And then the final ones here are some scene art and like 165 there. I put that in there because what does that scarecrow look like? What's the scariest thing you've dealt with? If you're a writer who used to deal in lived in the empire with the Hellman. So the scarecrow is a Hellman, basically. It's got a really tall head.
I think I'm on a delay, but I'm not seeing the scarecrow, I don't think.
You want to move up to 165 or something?
Oh,
you see it now with the purple?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Okay.
Yeah, so
ghosts.
There's some ghosts, but our scarecrows are the scariest thing we could do. With straw. So that all tied back to the same idea of the elongated heads that we can try to make ourselves in. We don't do it. The Alkathi people. That's that cultural relativism you were talking about again. For them, it's totally good.
Yeah. But if you kill a lot of people looking a certain way, those people might think it's not so good to look that way.
There's actual, I think it's from Peru also, that human mummies have been found that have really, really long heads like that. Mm-hmm. They must have had a reason to do it.
Yeah.
I went back to R06B. You had mentioned putting that one.
Yeah, that's just meeting Shargash on the sun path. Because he's one of the celestial gods who's still up there. He's a blood red planet in the Chloranthan sky. He shows up in some of the artwork as that planet, but
it'd be fun to party with. He's fun. He's ready to just chill out. No problem. Yeah, so we only have a few minutes left, but maybe you can tell us, I mean, I know we haven't discussed it that much privately, but these 20 people can also hear. What is the current projected situation for the next 6 Ages game, which the first one is on sale for 35% off right now, by the way. Grab it while you can. You can even grab the whole Kitfox catalog in the Kitfox bundle for an extra 15% off if you want to try all of our amazing games. But directly from David, please tell us what is going on with Lights Going Out. What's the plan?
So I'd like to get it out the door. Hopefully this year. That's not a promise, but I think we probably can. All of the writing has been done. It's all in the game. It's a completely playable game. I've got one of my QA people is like finishing several games a week so we can look at it and try to balance what works, what doesn't.
Balancing, wow. That does feel like you're getting there.
Well,
I guess it's art that you're waiting for.
there's still a lot of art. I haven't started to commission music yet. Unfortunately, the musician I worked with for the last 2 games passed on a couple of years ago. So I would love to have worked with him again, but I'll have to find a new musician.
I might be able to recommend one that we're working with for Dwarf Fortress. If you'd want to check out their portfolio, I can share it with you. But
cool.
They're supposed to be really good to work with.
So our testing is sort of a 2 different styles. We use tree testing, if you will, which is just like forget how many scenes. Second game is more interactive scenes than the first one. So each one of those has maybe 3 to 5 responses, and those typically have, you succeed or you fail. So that's a lot of different branches within one scene. So we want to make sure all of those work. So that's looking at that tree of that scene. Do all its branches work? But the game as a whole is the forest. So the sequence of scenes, and that's coming up a lot too, that the scene makes total sense by itself, but if you just had another scene where, someone took a weird wound, how come he's showing up now and he's totally normal? So we'll have to put a little special condition that it can't happen within a year of the first scene. And so there's a lot of, that's what I call the forest testing.
You can somewhat automate the tree testing probably in terms of at least the fundamental functionality. But a lot of the problems with a storytelling kind of game is that what you're testing for an AI wouldn't be able to detect, at least yet. Maybe we will invent one someday, but for right now, the AI reading comprehension will be able to detect something like, oh, this guy had a wound yesterday. Today, he should probably still have a wound, or mention it, right?
Yeah, and also just like proofreading, things always end up looking different on the screen, or we have alternate text. If a scene repeats, it typically has some variation, and if you haven't seen all the variations, you might not realize that we forgot to capitalize it in one of the 5. Duh.
Yeah.
This weird little things will happen. So we've been doing a lot of testing. Balancing is part of that sort of forest testing also.
Cool. Well, obviously keep me updated, please. We should definitely get a coming soon page on Steam with that soon. Even if it's just a matter of you sending us, 20 minutes of footage that we cut and send up some assets. We should get a coming soon page up for that. But anyway, thank you everybody. Alexander, do you have any other last things before we call it a day?
No, but that was great. We have more streams coming up. Still, we have 2 more to go. So again, every 2:00 Eastern, we'll be live again with more. And yeah, stay followed on our Twitter to know more about 6 Ages news, along with everything else. We have a 6 Ages newsletter that you can sign up for, so that when we have a big announcement, it goes right into your email inbox. And I'll drop the link for the newsletter sign up, so you can check on as many of our games as you're interested in, including 6 Ages, of course. There it is. Yeah, thanks everyone.
Have a good day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Alexandra and Tanya.
Thanks,